everyone, and welcome to the Burgess podcast, the show where we are opening up conversations about life at sea, discussing hot topics within the industry, as well as offering mental health support and promoting well-being for crew. We also have our very own in-house recruitment team, so if you or anyone you know is currently looking for a new position, please send your updated CV to recruitment@burgessyachts.com or check out our recruitment posts on Instagram @Burgess Yacht Crew. Hi, and welcome to day 3 of our Mental Health Awareness Week. Today we are continuing our chat about training and what we can do to improve working and living conditions for yacht crew. Lucy, if we can start with you. The question I've had here is, how can you ensure that captains and HODs feel comfortable accessing the assistance that is in place while ensuring their discretion? Are there any other tools in place that are specifically for senior crew?
So, just bringing it right back to the basics, there is very little human resources training in the senior officer courses. It's very disappointing. It's something that a lot of people in the industry are lobbying the MCA to improve the human resources training required to be a head of department. Just having competencies of driving the boat does not make you a good manager. You need to have the skills and you need to learn those skills throughout the years. And most people learn how to be a good manager from their good managers. Or most people learn how to manage from their manager. If it's good, if they've got a good manager, it's good. If they've got a bad manager, then that's when I get involved, sadly. But that's a sideline. So we learn through empathy to really understand how our fellow colleagues develop as we develop. And in order for us to then become a good manager, we have to really have looked at how we work together as a team and really build that strong team together. And that will then enable us to have the confidence and abilities to then deal with difficult situations. But this is such a long journey for everybody. It's a very steep learning curve. And quite often, especially in the yachting industry, I see it more and more where people are promoted younger and younger and younger because there is a shortage of crew coming into this industry and they've not developed those skills, or those skills have been picked up from people who are maybe not the best guide for them. So maybe look at external courses. You know, that's how you can educate yourself, by looking at good managerial courses. There's all sorts, and anybody can give you guidance on that. The management company, you know, your colleagues that you work with, there are thousands and thousands of courses on how to develop your managerial skills and your communication skills. And through that, you will develop the ability to see difficult situations, no matter what they are. This is not just a mental health issue. This is a general human resource management issue, and how to deal with that issue, how to handle it, manage it, discuss it openly and find a solution together. Or in some cases, find a solution and get that solution across the line. But practice makes perfect. The more you deal with these situations, the more comfortable you become. It's never easy. That's one thing. Every time I deal with these situations, they're different. It's not easy. It's very emotional, but it's just having that skill and that ability to sit down and work through it together. Use the resources available to you and just manage yourself through the situation.
And I guess it goes back to the mental health first aid training and the mental health awareness training, because they give you the tools that you need, don't they, Emma?
Yeah, Essentially, there's a lot of like conflict resolution, communication skills, how to listen and communicate non-judgmentally. And it's not just about kind of me sitting there talking and telling you about it. It's very actionable. It's quite a dynamic learning process. So you get to kind of practice it, learn how to do it, learn what it feels like when it's done right, learn what it feels like when it's done wrong. And just to expand on what Lucy said, any of those courses are so brilliant, you know, unless you're going to be like a career captain until you retire, which I know there are a few in the industry, but any of those management courses, communication courses, they're also applicable to a life outside of yachting. So even if you wanted to go into it with a completely like jaded headspace, like, you know, I don't have time to do courses, I only want to concentrate on this is where my money's going to go, maybe approach it from more of a long term. Okay, well, you know, tender driving and powerboat license and, you know, your radio handling license is fabulous while you're in the industry and necessary, but it's not really going to help you when you have a life outside of yachting. So maybe even just investing in yourself. Think of it as investing in yourself when you're doing those courses or looking for something online. Not only are you going to be a better HOD, a better chief, a better crew member, a better person, but you're also doing a long-term investment in your own kind of career.
Yeah, and I remember slightly going off piece here, but when I did the mental health first aid training course, one of the key things that I picked up was listening skills, and actually how little we all actually truly listen, because we're all either thinking about the next thing or offering our own experiences on that person's issues. And actually just to sit back and truly listen is such a useful skill in every area of your life, isn't it?
Definitely. And I'm only speaking, I have an understanding of the English education system and the South African education system. We do little to nothing on how to listen and communicate effectively, even though it's our main tool. So listening is one, I think it takes up 45%, or it makes up 45% of how we communicate. The rest is, you know, talking, reading, all of that kind of stuff. So with the ability that we use the most, we have the least amount of training. So you can see there's some discord there, and just starting to put some investment into how to listen and communicate non-judgmentally and how to be a better person in terms of, you know, not just in the workplace, but socially it's a great skill to have. And it really does feel like, I think the way that we teach it in mental health first aid training, it shows you how it's done right and how it's done wrong. And once you've got that experience in your head, you don't want to ever do it wrong again, because you know what it feels like. So yeah, just that kind of inspiration and the kind of the training that we do does really make you a better person as a crew member.
So Lucy, another question here. Why are management companies not enforcing a much stronger stance on mental health by evaluating the working and living conditions for yacht crew?
So it's in two parts, really, this. So first and foremost, we are limited to the budgets made available to us insofar as training and development of crew. I mean, I would love to be able to enforce every crew member on our managed yachts to do a mental health awareness course. It's a very short course, but it's a really insightful course and really useful and helpful. And I find it very frustrating how few crew do this. If I could make this part of the STCW basic training, that's what I would do, because it's so invaluable. And you know, when I look at other certificates within that basic training course, I would say this is equally, if not more important than some of those sessions. You know, so that's what I would love, but we are constrained by the budgets that we are given, and often when we're told to reduce the budget because there's been an overspend somewhere else. Sadly, the first area that gets affected is the training budget, because it's a very easy budget to cut or reduce. But we will continue to lobby. This is an objective of Burgess's, is to lobby to have all crew with mental health awareness training as minimum, and every yacht to have a mental health first aider. That will, I'm sorry to say, will remain an objective of ours for some time, but we will keep nagging, we will keep lobbying our yachts to get this done. So that's one part of it. In terms of the other, we do get on board the yachts, we do assess the recreational facilities and what is available. I'm involved often at the very, very early stages of the construction of vessels, where I spend so much time negotiating with designers and the builders and our construction team, who are very supportive of the angle that I'm coming from, to create more space for crew. You know, a designer, the first thing they'll do is get rid of a crew cabin to put in a bit of storage, or get rid of a crew cabin to put in a gym. All of it is about how can we reduce the crew areas, the crew recreational facilities. And I'm fighting to get it in place, because I know a healthy crew, a happy crew, a mentally fit crew is going to give that charter guest, that owner, the best experience that they can get. But I am constantly lobbying these people to try and see that I'm trying to get the best for them in the long run. How can we change that on board? Well, once a boat is built, it's very difficult to make changes to the living conditions, but we can certainly do our best to try and get rotations in place to allow crew more time off, so their working conditions are much better. We work tirelessly with the yachts to manage hours of work and rest. And we've got lots of suggestions and recommendations in place to improve hours of work and rest. And we will work very closely with captains and HODs to get those hours sorted. And I think once you've got a rested crew, you have a happier crew and you have a safer crew. I don't know, Mike, if you have any additional comments on work conditions.
Not really. No, you've pretty much hit the nail on the head there, Lucy. I mean, when it gets to me being on board, there's not a lot we can do to change the actual structure of the yacht to give crew more spaces. We can look at ways we can benefit, make the spaces we have on board better, more comfortable, better lighting. We'll ensure the crew get good food as well as another vital one. Cause we all have great chefs on boats, but there's every so often it's somebody who's has a bad day off, or your sous chefs are doing the cooking, quality's not there. But yeah, in general, just making sure we rest our crew as much as possible. Give everybody the time off they need. Does this job need to be done today? Or can we just let everybody down tools for a couple of hours and just go for a walk, get off this boat? And that's vital, making sure that there's a variety in our lives as well. It's not just the 9 to 5 humdrum or 14-hour humdrum that we do hammer through in yachts. So we do break it up a bit and get guys and girls, obviously, to relax and to let them rest and get outside, to get out and see the world that we're in. We're very fortunate to be in this industry and to be able to spend our lives floating around some of the most beautiful parts of the world. And it's not very pleasant if you have to sit around and not be able to go ashore and not be able to do things because somebody's too obsessed with the work list and doesn't think about, the other side of it.
Yeah, it's encouraging downtime, isn't it? Encouraging people to, look after themselves physically and mentally. So, Mike, we've had a question from a captain where they are phasing in rotation for the whole crew. He's saying, we hope this will alleviate a few of the mental health issues. Would you agree or disagree with that? And maybe it will change the dynamic of the mental health stress in a way that we won't recognise at first.
Yeah, I mean, obviously rotation is a great tool we have in seafaring to allow us to monitor people, to get people to rest, to get people home. Rotation allows you to structure your life. It gets you planning away, getting your time off. When you're on board, you're just focused on board and you have an end goal. You have that date where I'm flying out. Now, obviously, over the last couple of years, that date shifted around a little bit, which would have caused its own problems, but that's not rotation's fault. That's an entirely different kettle of fish. But there are other issues that can be drawn in, depending on how the rotation's worked up. For a captain and HODs, quite commonly we'll have somewhere to go back to, a home that we own or a place we can rent, and we have the financial ability to look after ourselves for an extended period. That might not be the same for junior deckhands or junior crew who earn very good money. Let's not beat around the bush on that one, but their lifestyles, how they live, might not be able to support them. They might not be able to find a decent apartment near their friends where they can live for an extended period of weeks or months, but they don't want to go home because home's not a good, nice place for them. And that's something that has to be brought into account as well, because it might increase stress. And also how the rotation works on board. Are they going to be with people they know? I heard stories. I've been chatting to quite a few people on larger yachts in the 100+ meters where they all have rotation, and deckhand joins, meets up with a couple of guys, that's their friends for 2 months, and then one goes away, then the next one goes away. And when they come back off their rotation, there's 3 new people they have to get to know. And it just repeats and repeats and repeats, and you don't have that quite the same camaraderie on board, which means you're not going to be able to identify isolation as easily, and it's not going to have the connections on board that we can use as senior people to go, is this person doing okay? Is that person doing okay? You won't have that baseline of knowledge about a person's mental health to be able to assess it. So it's obviously going to change everything. But I think in the general, it's going to be better for the crew. It's better for, if managed correctly, it's always going to be better rotation than full time. It manages burnout. It manages a lot of things.
Thanks, Mike, and thanks everyone. Join us again tomorrow, where we are continuing our chat about training and about the effects of social media on our mental health.